So today we're going to rebuild this XTR M985 derailleur, and some tools you're going to need are some Allen keys, T30 Torx, some pliers, a pick, a razor blade, and a screwdriver. Alright, so now since we got the pulleys off, we're going to take apart the spring here. First thing you want to do, you want to pull back the cage, but you want to do this carefully because this cage is carbon. As you can tell, it's already cracked in multiple areas. So this derailleur is not usable. So yeah, just go ahead, pull it back kind of carefully. And yeah, go ahead and unscrew this little pin here. Like so. Now you want to carefully pull up the parallelogram, because you want this cage to swing around and spring out like so. There you go. And now unscrew this cover. All right, we got the screws off. Go ahead and pop this thing off. There you go. There's also a gasket right here. Go ahead and pop that off. Now we got the clutch here. You want to go ahead and just pull it off. There you go. All right, now grab your smaller screwdriver. We're going to take off this lever here. Go ahead and pop it off. There you go. Once you got the screw off, this thing will just come apart like so. All right, now this part actually does not come apart. There's a small riveted pin. It does not seem to want to come up at all. So now just grab your 4mm. We're going to pop off the cage. Go ahead and put it in here. And this is kind of sketch, but you want to just kind of put it, grab a hold of the cage. You don't want to grab a hold of it on the end because you might snap it. And go ahead and pop it loose. Here we go. That wasn't too tight, which is good. And just go ahead and loosen it, yeah. There you go. Now the shaft pops out. Got the cage and the spring. There you go. There's a washer on here as well. And the spring. And a giant seal. There you go. We just have this hanger bolt here. You don't have to take it off. But if it's broken or whatever, or if it's like super seized, you can go ahead and pop this clip off and loosen the bolt. Again, you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to show you how to do it. So yeah, go ahead and pop this clip off. These like to jump away very quickly, so you want to kind of catch it like that. There you go. And go ahead and grab your Torx and pop it loose. There you go. And loosen it up. Alright, so we also have these sealed bearing pulleys. If they spin smooth, I would just leave them alone and not touch them. Or if they spin too fast, that means all the grease is dried up, so you'll want to regrease them. These have these little metal seals on them. They pop off pretty easily. So yeah, this is the guide pulley here, and it's pretty easy to take apart. You just pop this little center bushing down. You can see all the bearings in there. And I want to grab your razor blade. This is the best to do this, and just kind of gently lift up the seal like so. Pop it off. And this thing will just pop out like that, and then just grab the other seal, pop it off as well, like that. There you go. All right, so now we got our bearings here with our steel bushing. You want to clean these down with some alcohol. You don't want to take them out and really brush them, because these little steel bearings can pop out of this rubber cage very easily. And yeah, you just want to pop these off real quick. There's like a little ridge in the middle where they seat onto, so they don't go too far. You just kind of want to pop them off. It's pretty easy, like so. And then I also have a magnetic tray here, as well as, you know, lots of small bolts on this thing. So you don't want to lose them. So yeah, grab this, clean it off with some alcohol, nice and good. And the inside you want to clean off as well as the seals. Yeah, you don't want to use anything harsh on these. You don't want to use like brake cleaner or acetone, because it could degrade them. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, now time for the tension pulley. Similar story, but the bearings are a little bigger. Pop off this main aluminum seal. This other part's going to pop out like that. There you go. And now same thing, just grab your razor blade, pop up the seal. It's a little bit bigger this time. So it's like a metal one too. So yeah, there you go. There's also, as you can tell, our bearings are very dirty. There's a lot of grease. There's a lot of dirt in there, so we want to regrease them. And if they're all green, if they're all good, if there's a lot of grease in there, I would just leave it alone. This is how you check. Just make sure you clean off the seal so you don't introduce any new dirt back into the pulley. Yeah, just pop off the other seal. And the best way to clean these is, of course, some brake cleaner. You want to spray it in there. You could also use a toothbrush or something. I'm going to be using my ultrasonic cleaner, so yeah, there you go. All right, so now we got everything all nice and taken apart, ready to clean. For this, you can use a cleaner or a degreaser. I recommend using like a brush or like a little pipe cleaner. You can also use alcohol, brake cleaner, acetone. But if you're using brake cleaner or acetone, something strong, you want to stay away from plastic and rubber, especially painted stuff as well. So yeah, and a few other things you want to take apart here. We got this clutch. You should put a pick in here. You want to wedge this part open, and then the clutch will slip out like so. There you go. And we also have our clutch lever here. It has a tiny little locking pin kind of thing, which you can unscrew with this little flathead. But you don't have to do it. I would just oil this up and make sure it moves nice and smooth. Unless it's super seized, then you can take it apart, but it's not worth it. So yeah. And in my case, I'm using this ultrasonic cleaner. All I'm using is water and dish soap. All right, so now we got everything all nice and cleaned down. And by the way, if you do have an ultrasonic, you don't want to put any of the clutch stuff like this barrel here or maybe the band clamp in there because it could rust it. It's not worth it. And also, just wanted to mention this thing is cracked, so I'm not going to be using it. I'm just showing you guys how to rebuild one of these. Parallelogram's actually cracked right there. Check it out. And the cages are both cracked in several areas, as you can expect, because, you know, they're carbon. This one's also cracked like right there and right here as well. So yeah, not a surprise that these are cracked. Again, modern derailleurs, carbon. And yeah, for grease, I'm going to be using this Shimano premium grease and some of this Part Tool bearing grease. So yeah, there you go. All right, now starting off with the pulleys, we're just going to be doing the tension pulley. As you can tell, we got it all nice and cleaned out. Spins super fast, which is good. And yeah, now it's time to put in the grease. I'm going to be using some of this Part Tool stuff. You can also use the Shimano premium, but it's a bit thicker. I find it to be perfect for the pulleys. So yeah, you want to get this nice and cleaned down with some brake cleaner. That's the best way to do it. Then grab some Part Tool grease and pack it back in. So yeah. So yeah, you want to get the grease nice and packed in on both sides. And once you got that in, you want to kind of spin it around with some, with like a pick or something, just to get it all nice and circulated in there. So you want the grease to go back there where the race is, because if you just put it on the outside, it's not going to get in there and it's going to just continue spinning bad. As you can see, some of the grease went away, so you want to rotate this about 10-15 times and re-grease it again, and yeah, there you go. So yeah, go ahead and spin that pulley around nice and good. Make sure it spins smooth. We've got the grease all packed in. It's right up there to the surface, and all the extra grease is just going to leak out once we put the seals on. So yeah, grab your seals. You want it the silver side facing up. Go ahead and pop them on. When you pop them in, you just want to feel like a little bit of a nudge when you pop them in. They're not very hard. They don't take much force to pop in, but yeah, just make sure they pop in. You'll feel a little bit of a nudge. So yeah, this is how your seals should look when you pop them in. You just want to see those two silver rings right here. And yeah, just make sure it spins nice and smooth. Now you want to grab your little aluminum washer. You have that steel bushing in between. And yeah, go ahead and pop that in. And you want to make sure that bushing isn't sticking up past the other aluminum seal. That's because you have another one on the other side, and you want to make sure you have enough room to pop it on and make sure it stays on there. So yeah, there you go. All right, so now time for our guide pulley. You want to grease up the inside nice and good. And now you want to grab your other bearings right here. Grease them up nice and good. You want the inside, outside all greased up. And you want to grab your other steel bushing. You want to get it over that center ridge. Kind of pop them on there, just nudge them on. There you go. Now you get that all nice and greased up on the outside. Now grab your guide pulley and just join them together. There you go. Just kind of nudge them in. There you go. All right, and yeah, same thing. You just want to grab your seals. You want to kind of straighten them out, make sure they're not bent. This side up, this side with the silver part, you want that facing towards the bearings. So yeah, go ahead and pop these on. And again, you'll kind of feel them nudge in, but they're just not as tight as the other ones. So yeah, just get those nice and popped in. Again, you don't take much pressure to pop in. They're pretty easy. And yeah, just want to see those two silver rings. Make sure it spins nice and smooth. And then we also have our little metal seals. So yeah, just pop those on. And yeah, there you go. All right, now time for the hanger. You just want to grease up this area a little bit. Doesn't really matter what kind of grease you use. You just want to grease it up and go ahead and slide it on like so. That's how you want it to go on. You want to grab your bolt. You can grease that up a little bit if you want to. And go ahead and screw it in. And just screw it in until it stops. You just want it snug, not too tight. Yeah, and then if you still have your clip, go ahead and pop it on. There you go. All right, so moving on to the cage spring, we're gonna do that first, then the clutch after, obviously. So yeah, you wanna grease this area up nice and good. Just put a little bit of grease in there, in that area. Then you wanna grab your little washer. As you see, there's like a little ridge on it. There's a flat part. You want that flat part facing down. Just kinda wanna grease up that area a little bit. Then grab your shaft. You wanna grease up the lower part. Go ahead and slide that in, like so. And you want to grab your spring. You want to have that greased up as well. You want to have the end that's not curved, obviously. Go ahead and pop it into the hole. Feel it, kind of make sure it goes in all the way like that. And grab your plastic seal. Pop that on as well, like so. There you go. Then you want to grab your cage. And there's also a washer that goes on top of it. You want it facing up like that. So use a flat part. You want that flat part facing down, like so. You want to grease up underneath the washer. You want to grease it up on top as well. Go ahead and pop it on. We also have 2 holes here for the cage. If you're looking at it like this, left one is a tighter one, right one is a looser one. Go ahead and pop them in. And go ahead and join the spring with the cage. You want to kind of hook it in, like so. Go ahead and line it up, like that. And grab your 4mm and screw it on. All right, now once you got the cage screwed on, you just want the bolt snug. You don't want it too tight because again, we've got the carbon cage. You don't want to mess with that. Now you can also screw on your lever if you decided to take it off. You want to do it right now because when you pull the cage around and put it in its spot, you're not going to have the room to put this thing on. Or even better, you could do it before you put the cage on. Should have done that. And then go ahead and screw it on. Get that lever screwed on. This is how it should work, like so. Make sure it kind of pops in. If it doesn't do that, then you want to screw in that little tiny flathead right there. And yeah, now you want to grab your cage. You want to turn it counterclockwise. You want to pull up the parallelogram at the same time, like so. Pull it around all the way. And then you want to see until that hole where this pin screws into passes that little stopper. You want to grab your little stopper pin and go ahead and screw it in. There you go. All right, so now time for the clutch. You're going to pry open this little band. You want to grease it up. I'm using the Park Tool bearing grease because it's thick and it can handle the heat. Again, you can use any kind of high quality grease. Shimano has the internal hub grease. They also have the grease just for the clutches. So yeah, I'm gonna be using this stuff. It's worked pretty well. And yeah, go ahead and grab your clutch. You want to grease it up on the outside nice and good. And yeah, go ahead and join these two together. So now you want to brake clean this shaft nice and good because you don't want any grease. You want no debris, no dirt on here. This is what actuates the clutch. And you have your band here. You want to clean on the inside of that. Get a paper towel and just kind of clean in there with some brake cleaner. Yeah, get your clutch together. Go ahead and pop it on now. Just go ahead and line it up in between those two things. Push it down. There you go. Now once you did that, we have our little tab here that kind of connects everything. Make sure everything's in line. So go ahead and pop that on as well. And right here, this tiny little screw is adjusts the tension. So you probably just want to pop this off if you want to adjust that. It takes like a 5.5mm socket, I believe, but how are you going to get in there? So no one has a 5.5mm wrench, so you can just carefully, use a pair of pliers to put a little bit of more tension on that if you weren't feeling any tension there on the clutch when you pull the lever. So yeah, you can adjust that again later. You can just pop the cover off and adjust it later. So yeah, this tab should be held down with these two little plastic jaws. And of course, the main thing you want to check is if the clutch is actually, clutching. So pull the cage back, see how it feels, and turn the clutch lever on. And now it should feel a lot tighter, and it should be restricting its movement a lot more. So yeah, there you go. And yeah, once you get that all situated, if this thing kind of pops up, don't worry about it. The clutch cover will kind of keep it down. And then grab your little rubber seal. I like to put a little tiny sliver of grease on it. Go ahead and line it up. Make sure it's lined up correctly. Go ahead and pop it in like so. Then just grab your clutch cover and put it on. There you go. And yeah, just tighten down these little clutch cover bolts. You don't want them too tight, just want them snug. And yeah, time for the pulleys. Flip it over. We got our guide pulley here. You want to have the arrows going clockwise if you're looking at it from the back here. Yeah, then go ahead and grab your cage and screw it on. Yeah, these pulley bolts are obviously not original, but I'm just gonna roll with it for now. So yeah, then tighten down your pulley bolts. Again, you don't want them very tight because again, carbon cage. And yeah, for the tension pulley, you want it to spin clockwise if you're looking at it from the front. Guide pulley, you want to spin clockwise if you're looking at it from the back. So yeah, then just put on your clamp bolt. I also like to oil up all these pivots here to make it move nice and smooth. And yeah, grease up that spring to prevent rust. And yeah, there you go. Now you got yourself a fully rebuilt derailleur. So yeah, it's a bummer this thing is cracked. It's got a few issues on top of that as well. And yeah, well, that's the fate of most of these derailleurs. You know, they weren't designed to be reliable. They're designed to be light and perform well, and that's it. So yeah, hope you found this video useful in some kind of way, and I'll see you guys. Bye.